You guys got a big episode of reviews coming at you, so get ready. Pull up a chair, get some popcorn and a drink, and let's talk about the last 3 episodes I've missed of Doctor Who. Whew, I think that's the Empress of Mars, Eaters of the Light, and then World Enough and Time. So let's start off with the Empress of Mars. Now, Mark Gatiss. This man has a very special place in my heart. He is the writer for a couple of Doctor Who episodes, starting from the rebooted, reimagined continuation of Doctor Who in the first place. I mean, he's done a handful of episodes: The Unquiet Dead, The Idiot's Lantern, Victory of the Daleks, Night Terrors, Cold War, The Crimson Horror, Robot of Sherwood, Sleep No More, and now we've come down to Empress of Mars. They have been hit or miss. I know he's a passionate Doctor Who lover. I know that he enjoys what he does. And in fact, he laughs himself all the way to the bank making these episodes. But it's always a hit or miss from me. I mean, The Unquiet Dead I rather enjoyed, but it wasn't anything to write home about for me. The Idiot's Lantern just didn't do anything for me. Victory of the Daleks was okay. Night Terrors I found rather enjoyable, and I enjoyed the concept. Cold War was actually pretty cool. Crimson Horror was very interesting to have, like, the Doctor barely in it until the very latter half of the episode. Robot of Sherwood I found an absolute silly mess. And Sleep No More I felt like was a interesting concept I felt needed to be explored more. So you can kind of tell that I've been wishy-washy and not quite definitive on one, like, no, it sucked, yes, it was the greatest thing on Earth. It was like, yeah. Overall, does it really come down to the Empress of Mars being any good? Like, I didn't think it had anything to, like, write home about when I first knew that it was coming out. And then when I watched it, I was like, nah, I don't really want to talk about it. So I didn't. Empress of Mars was actually not that bad. I really enjoyed how it was constructed. I liked the references of other movies and stuff like that the Doctor probably never has time to watch, like Terminator or Frozen for that matter. It was just like a very interesting standalone episode, and it kind of resonates with me. So it's like that's kind of what I've been looking for in Doctor Who, an episode in the seasons that resonated with me. It doesn't have to have an overarching story arc, but it could be something solid, and this felt solid. I really liked it. Basically, the Doctor is being the Doctor. He is watching some countdown of a launch going on, and I think it was going to Mars. Realize he sees something that, shouldn't be there on Mars, like words. God save the Queen. Okay, well, that's unusual. Of course the Doctor's going to go investigate. There he finds that a lone ice warrior is pretty much under the control of a British army. But not just any soldiers, these are soldiers from Victorian Britain, like, what even? And you see a little bit of issues in the ranks, people who believe that they're better, and there is actually character development in that, where there's this one guy who believes that he's a coward. That's all I'll say. He's really interesting, and I actually enjoyed his character arc. And then you got this one guy inside there that he clashes with that doesn't think he's the higher authority. So the Ice Warrior's got his own little scheme going on in which he rises his Empress, and the Empress is, of course, going to try and take over Mars and the world. And, of course, Doctor and Bill, they tried and saved the day. It is a solid episode. I rather enjoyed it. So when it comes to Mark Gatiss, like I said, it's either give or take, and this one was a lot of give, and it gave me something I really enjoyed. So, with that said, Empress of Mars was actually not that bad. But now we're going to go on to a very interesting one, the Eaters of Light. Okay, this didn't intrigue me whatsoever. In fact, I was like, here's another handoff sort of episode before we get to the finale. In fact, I didn't even realize it was the finale, and who knows what's really going to happen. I don't think I'm going to like this, but I watch it because I'm a Doctor Who fan, and I love it, but let's just see. And this one wasn't actually that bad. In fact, I really like the creatures. I like the story about where these creatures have come from and what the story is revolving around them. Because when you get this far into Doctor Who, if you really, really think about it, every new creature that comes up and says, hey, it's a long-lasting thing that has been going on for centuries, why hasn't the Doctor known about it? And here you find out not only how he does not know about it, there is so much going on without the Doctor's knowledge. Even though he has encountered almost nearly everything, there's always something new because things happen in between moments, outside of that moment, and over there, and with, Huckleberry Finn. Okay, just saying. And here's where he actually sees Huckleberry Finn and goes, holy shit, you actually aren't a fictional character, and you have been dealing with aliens your entire life. Holy crap. Let's fix this, because I'm the Doctor. And Eaters of Light just kind of tickled me a little bit. Like, Empress of Mars and Eaters of Light didn't strive to be this big. They just, hey, we're stories. We're enclosed in ourselves. We have a message. We have a theme, and we're going to tell it. And I feel like they finally brought themselves down off the high after season 6 and season 7 to really go, look, we're making stories. This is what we do. And they brought it down just enough to where you didn't have to have who's behind the vault, and oh my god, you find out, and what do they have to do, and oh my god, this is gonna happen, and oh, best season ever! No, they really just give you a story that's this big rather than this big. And of course, commenting on it, I have to talk about the plot a little bit, but it's really simple. So these creatures are very interesting. They soak up the light, they're drawn to it, and of course they eliminate anything in its path, and it's pretty powerful. I mean, the whole concept in the first place started when Bill and the Doctor pretty much disagree over the Ninth Legion disappearing, and Bill thinks she knows more, the Doctor knows he knows more, but they find out together that there is a lot more going on that they both don't realize, and that's where they come across this creature. And I like the history behind it, which I won't spoil for you. If that's what you want to find out for yourself, go for it, by all means. Other than that, this is a very solid episode, once again, just before our finale. It doesn't give us anything, oh my god, the finale's gonna just emotionally drain me. No, they saved that best for last. But overall, I gotta say, as much as I liked it, I know where there can be some downfalls for the Empress of Mars and the Eaters of Light. There's just not enough for you to take home with. There's not enough for you to go, yeah, I really liked it. I think it was a great addition. They probably could have been done without. It could have been an audiobook for all you care, and then you would have been fine. Here, I just appreciate it. I appreciate both of them because they, like I said, they weren't this big, they were this big. And I'm glad that they're kind of coming down from that because the stories have been absolutely crazy and turning off a lot of viewers. The whole River Song thing, I mean, trust me, I know there's a lot of people who love it, but there's also a lot of people who hate it. And that's kind of sad. So, like I said, these 2 episodes, very interesting. But I know what you came here for. I know what you came here for. And you want to talk about World Enough and Time. Let's get into this. Okay, can I just say something really quick, which I actually have a problem with because in a world of heavy spoilers to people who don't care about seeing them or hearing them, or for those who really are just like, don't watch any reviews, don't do anything because they want to see it for themselves before it's ruined for you. Trailers, man. The trailers for Doctor Who just, I don't think they care. They think that what they're showing is not nearly as important. But honestly, I really wish they just announced that John Sim was coming back. He just didn't know when. I really wish, because when they finally get to this point in World Enough and Time, I just wish they didn't say that he was going to be in this episode, because that's all I was thinking about. And then as the episode progressed, I started calling it. And I can be clever sometimes in storylines, but I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I'm also not the sharpest tool in the shed. I like to be oblivious when things progress, because then I go, ah ha ha! I started calling it early on, only for those who probably didn't call it and knew that, there was some sort of twist by the end because it's Moffat. Honest to God, I just realized when the Master was going to show up, and it's still cool. I just think it would have been a lot more impactful. And I'm not saying that the trailers blatantly gave it away. They just gave us one line of dialogue saying, give us a kiss. And I just kind of had a feeling if that scene hasn't happened by the time 40 minutes have passed by, then I know that it's going to show up here. And it did. So, like I said, I can be clever sometimes. Don't judge me. What they did now, instead of, saying, hey, we know we gave you some spoilers for that trailer, let's give you something very compelling in the opening scene, and that is the Doctor suddenly regenerating. We don't know why. We know something's going down, and of course the Doctor's screaming no, like he doesn't want to. And that was interesting. So now this first episode is just showing us how we're going to get to that point. And God knows what it's going to be like. I bet you any amount of money, and I'm going to say this, I bet you any amount of money, the Doctor is going to start regenerating by the end of this last episode, and we won't know who the Doctor is until next season, or the Christmas special. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Doctor regenerates, but we cut back earlier. So now we also see where Missy is being tested by the Doctor to kind of try and see if she is going to be good again. And we get a little bit of revelation about the Doctor's name, and we get a little revelation over Missy just being a goofball, but you realize she's really trying. And then something hits that I will not spoil for those who haven't seen it yet, but you'll know what I'm talking about if you do. Something pretty drastic happens, and then they start cutting back and forth in time the moment that it happens. Big tragedy strikes, and everyone's shocked by it. Bill, Nardole, Doctor, Missy, everyone's pretty shocked by this sudden twist of fate here. And I cannot ruin too much, so forgive me for not being overly explanatory. It's crazy, and you know that Moffat is just having a lot of fun writing it, because by the end of every segment, it jumps back to someplace else, and it finally tells the rest of its story. It stops, and it tells the rest of the other story. So it's a lot of hey, 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 finale. You are left wondering what the hell is going on, and then it hits the finale. You get everything that you know you've been wanting to see, but you don't get any explanation for the Master. You don't get any explanation as to what's up with this ship that the Doctor decided to test Missy on because he just wants her to be good, and they wanted a safe place to make her be good in, you know, someplace neutral so he could see what's going on. Like, okay, not enough explanation, not enough everything, but it's great setup, and there's something to take away from the setup. I'm just really glad to see John Sim as the Master back again, because I'm hoping, this is what I've been waiting for ever since Missy came onto the screen saying she was Mistress, in other words, the Master, and the Master had turned into a woman, and it really was just all interesting, but by the end of 8 to 9, she still never explained why she is the way she is. What happened to her before he went into the void with Rassilon and all that stuff. None of that was explained yet, and I'm sorry, but it still bugs me. I like Missy enough, I enjoy her presence, but without any explanation, this is going to get pretty heavy-handed for me. I am going to be very upset if this next episode doesn't talk about it. If it doesn't explain squat, I'm going to have another little video talking about Moffat and the lack of explanation he loves to give. I'm just saying. Biggest concern with all of this is answers. If they give it, I'll be fine. But World Enough and Time was interesting. I rather enjoyed it, but it's not like the best hard-hitting finale for me. I've got to see it in full. And that also reminds me, as I close this up, my finale reaction review will be a part of my full season review. So next week, you'll be getting a full season review of Series 10 and how my thoughts all pulled into one. We're going to talk about that. We're going to see how everything really held up as a season as a whole, and then we're going to go deep into spoiler territory for the finale. I'll talk about it vague, and then I will talk about it in grandiose full detail. So look out for that, which will happen next week. So yeah, last 3 episodes that I know that I decided to not review kind of are pulled into this episode, and like I said, I rather enjoyed each one of them in their own little odd way. World Enough and Time was cool. I just need more before I give a full-hearted, like, I think it sucks or I think it's great. That's all I can say. Because this 2-parter kind of reminds me of Series 8's finale, where the first part was really good and the last part wasn't. Even though Series 9 did do a good job with that for me, I'm just saying this could go straight back down to Series 8 territory. So anyway, let's find out. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I know this was a very lengthy review, but I do appreciate for those who wanted to watch and hear what I had to say. I will get you a full season review next week, like I said. And as always, until next time.